accused the Russians of targeting civilian infrastructure, but he insisted Ukrainian authorities remained in control of the city.
We will defend in the city, so the fighting contact line goes by the borders of the city. So internally, city is totally controlled by Ukrainian police and army, and the fighting is around the city because the city is blocked from three sides. We can say that we are surrounded by Russian troops.
A second round of talks between Ukrainian and Russian delegations is due to begin shortly in Belarus. The Ukrainian negotiator said his country's minimum goal was an agreement to set up humanitarian corridors. The UN says at least 1 million people have now fled. Russia has struck with a range of demands, including that Ukraine agrees to demilitarize and accept Crimea as Russian territory. Refugees from Russia's war in Ukraine continue to flee west into the European Union and Moldova. EU interior ministers are meeting in Brussels, where they're expected to approve proposals to give Ukrainians temporary protection across the bloc. This would allow them residence permits and grant rights to healthcare and education. On a visit to a refugee centre on Hungary's border with Ukraine, the Hungarian Prime Minister put the onus on Russia, with whom he traditionally enjoys close relations, to stop the war. Next up is on the Hungary-Ukraine border.
Viktor Orban enjoys close relations with President Putin. Their most recent meeting just a month ago in Moscow. And his government has traditionally strained relations with Ukraine. In the first week of this war, he's had to adapt fast. The Hungarian Prime Minister has already said he condemns the Russian invasion and supports Ukraine. Today he went a little further, stating that the main responsibility for stopping the war lies with Russia. He also reiterated an offer to host peace talks between Russia and Ukraine here in Hungary.
World news from the BBC. Oil and gas prices have continued to soar on global markets. The price of Brent crude oil has reached a 10-year high of more than $119 per barrel. In Europe, gas prices have also been rising sharply. Major commodities such as aluminium, coal and wheat have also been climbing. The prosecutor of the International Criminal Court, Karim Khan, has told the BBC he has dispatched a team to the Ukraine region to start gathering and preserving any evidence of atrocities that fall within the court's jurisdiction. Anna Holligan reports.
The ICC has the power to look at things like the indiscriminate shelling of residential areas, any deliberate targeting of civilians or buildings that have no military link, like concert halls or TV towers, or the use of weapons that are imprecise and could result in civilian casualties, like cluster munitions or vacuum bombs. The investigators will be collecting clues to build a picture on the ground to establish a chain of command and eventually bring charges against the people at the top giving the orders and orchestrating this invasion.
The organisers of the Formula One motor racing championship say they've terminated their contract with the promoter of the Russian Grand Prix. They say this means Russia will not be allowed to host any races indefinitely. The Black Sea resort of Sochi has hosted Russia's Formula One race since 2014, but St. Petersburg had been due to replace it as the venue next year. Earlier, the International Paralympic Committee said Russian and Belarusian athletes would be banned from the Winter Paralympics. In other news, the rival government in Libya is preparing to be sworn in later today as a showdown with the current administration seems set to intensify. Fathi Bashagha is due to take the oath of office in Tobruk, and he has said that the incumbent Prime Minister, Abdul Hamid al-Dabeiba, has cut off Libyan airspace to prevent his ministers reaching the city in the east of Libya. BBC News.
I'm James Menendez. Welcome to News Hour from the BBC World Service. We are coming to you live from London. And the programme will be dominated today by what is happening in Ukraine, and there is a lot happening, with Russian forces intensifying their attacks on cities around the country. That includes areas to the north of the capital, Kiev, but in fact most of the fighting has been in cities in the south along the coast. And we're going to hear from